today we're going to be working on our core. We're going to start on our backs, so get nice and comfortable. Look for a little bit of a lift of the knees upwards, so you've got your lower back nice and flush with the mat. We're looking for a gentle roll of the shoulders back and down, and then deepening the breath slightly. So gently inhale, just notice that chest space gets a little bit larger, and then on your exhale, really feel like the whole back makes contact with the mat. We'll do that just for a couple of breaths. You might let the hands release down either side of you. Great, and then on that next inhale, we're going to slowly just start to raise the feet up. So you're taking these feet, so the soles of the feet are up towards the wall. And then we've got a kind of 90-degree angle into the knees as well. So we can support ourselves a little bit by keeping the head on the mat, looking for the hands to have a little bit of weight in each of them, just grounding firmly into the ground. Big inhale, big exhale, just starting to notice maybe which parts of the body are activating. What we're hoping is that this core really starts to fire up. So as you gently exhale, we're going to swing the knees over towards the left-hand side. You might bring the arms a little bit wider. You can open them out into cactus arms as well, and then just swing them towards the left-hand side. So your choice, if you want to let the knees hover just away from the ground, you can do that. If you want a little bit less, you're going to let the knees release down to come into that twist. And then gaze might stay up. You can take the gaze over the right shoulder, or just keep gaze towards the ceiling. Gently inhale, we're going to raise the knees back up to where we were. Again, just notice that strength into the core. And then we'll slowly swing the knees over towards the right-hand side. So again, just trying to firm up through the arms as much as possible. So you're either letting the knees come into contact with the ground, or you're just hovering a couple of inches above the ground if you want to keep that effort, that engagement into the core. Breathing nice and deep, we'll swing that back round, look for that nice lift of the knees upwards again. You're still keeping that 90-degree angle. We're going to go around once more on each side. So maybe just hovering over, stretching across the front body, and then activating into the core. So you're either letting the knees just release down or keep them hovered. Nice and strong into the arms, great. We'll lift that back up, swing that across to the other side. Great, and then either stay there or release to the ground. Maybe that gaze comes over towards left shoulder. Entirely up to you. If you want to keep that up nice and straight, just think about the neck or notice the neck, see if it's nice and comfortable, if there's loads of space to turn, or if it feels a little bit too tight. Keep the length through the back of the neck, so you might tuck the chin slightly as we slowly inhale. Bring the knees up, back to where they were again, so we've got this 90-degree angle into the legs. And then just gently breathing, focusing on that core, just making sure it's lightly engaged. And then big exhale, going to hug the knees in towards the chest. Notice how the lower back is feeling. And then we're going to lift ourselves up slightly, so just bring the soles of the feet back down. Take the hands back behind you, and then you're going to take the shoulders down the back, lift the chest slightly, coming to Navasana or boat pose, so you can begin to just work the hands almost behind the legs. So what we're trying to do is bring this lift into the chest forwards, so it doesn't feel like we're kind of closing or rounding at all. We're nice and open, tall through the back, through the top of the head, and then just gently inhaling, maybe lift the feet just off the mat for a few moments. As soon as we do that, we're looking for this engagement into the core, so we're not kind of just holding up the legs with the arms with a nice relaxed core. We want to stay nice and firm, nice and engaged into the core. It's helping lift or activate the core to help lift the legs up. And then we might stay here. You might find that you want to bring the arms out a little bit wider away from you, and that will really help to keep this top body activated. And then you may even start to draw the feet a little bit higher. So they could we'll just go half boat, half Navasana for today. So lifting those feet kind of as high as you like, keeping the length through the whole back. Big exhale, release, take the hands behind the legs, and then just make sure, especially that lower back, is nice and comfortable. So we don't want any kind of weird pain or excessive rounding into the lower back especially. Just notice where it's comfortable. So it might come up just a little way. You might want to keep the support from the hands there. Have a play around. Does it feel okay to bring the arms out? Maybe the feet come a little bit higher. You can take the feet all the way as well if you're feeling full of energy. Just looking for that kind of press forwards of the heels away from you. And gently exhale, release, back down. Great. We're going to roll over, come to all fours, and then just make sure those hands are underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. Tops of the feet are nice and heavy. We'll roll it through some really slow cat-cows to begin with. So gently exhaling, feeling that, especially lower back, we're focusing on being nice and comfortable. And then raise the gaze as you inhale. And then nice and slow, head back into that cat. So you take it nice and slow, look for a little bit of weight through big toe and little toe. Make sure those fingers are nice and wide spread open. And then just gently rolling as slowly as you like. And keeping that breath nice and even. Great, so hopefully we've noticed or kind of found where the core is. We'll keep working with that, so we're going to take ourselves back to a neutral position. Maybe look for the hands to come a little bit further forwards. Double check those elbows are looking in towards each other. We'll tuck the toes slightly, and now we've got this sense of the weight coming over the shoulders. So we're in a half plank. And we can keep the knees down if that feels what's comfortable or where you want to stay, absolutely fine. Just double check you've got a little tiny bend into the elbow, so we're not locking out the elbows, it feels like they're activated. You're trying to keep these hands as flat as possible, and then you've got that little, even might be quite subtle, engagement into the core. So through kind of the belly button all the way round in the front body, we're nice and engaged. If you want a little bit more, you're going to tuck those toes, swing the knees up, and then head into your plank. Double check, heel, hip, shoulder to head is a nice long line, so the hips aren't too high, we're not in a sort of half downward facing dog, and the hips aren't too low, we're not in a cobra or anything like that. It's a nice long line, breathing nice and deeply, really noticing those arms working quite strong, and also the core. So the core helps us keep that nice long shape as we take some nice deep breaths. So last 2 breaths, nice big inhale, big exhale. And then last, inhale, and then gently exhale. Great, we'll release the knees back down. Just take it back to a child's pose. So big toes together, knees as wide as you like, balasana, so wide-legged child's pose, just sinking those hips back. Let the arms release for a few moments and see if you can sink forwards with the chest to help let the insides of the legs gently release as well. Top of the head releases if it can reach. And then just be like nice and loose through both the hands too. So gently releasing, gently breathing, and just noticing how the body feels. Great, so hopefully we're just feeling a little bit more activated into the core. We can head back into that plank again. We're going to come through all fours, swing yourself up from the hips. Find those shoulders over the hands again. Might be your halfway plank again, keeping the knees down. Just have a play around inside the elbows, just looking in towards each other, gently activating through the upper body, and then tucking those toes, swinging into plank pose. Great. Big inhale, big exhale. Stay here for another sort of 3 or 5 breaths. If you need a break and it's just not working, just come back to that half plank, so bring the knees down. Wherever you are, nice long line, you can bounce backwards and forwards to sort of take the mind off that engagement into the core. It's still there, but there are other parts of the body that we can think about while we're working through the breath. So double check the hands are nice and firm, not crashing into the wrists. Nice big in-breath, big out-breath. Last couple of breaths. And then great, big exhale. Slowly release the knees back down. Great, we're going to come back to that child's pose. Might be knees together this time, so seeing how it feels to round the back a little bit more, not have quite so much openness into the insides of the legs. Gently release the top of the head down, give yourself 3 breaths. Great, and then we'll slowly start to make our way forwards again. Come up from the hips, but then this time we're not going to come up onto the hands, we're going to walk the forearms down so that they stay on the mat. We've got this nice little symmetrical effort with both the arms, so it feels like the elbows aren't splaying out at all. And then we'll just draw ourselves back, so we're taking ourselves onto tiptoes, forearm plank, swing the hips down, and then press firmly into each of those forearms. It feels a little bit different, so it's less focused on the arms and the wrists. We're looking really for a nice strong effort into the shoulders, but also that subtle engagement into the core again. Hips are nice and level, so there's always the temptation to come up a little bit too high into a kind of half forearm down dog. We're keeping those hips level, breathing nice and deep, and then just seeing if there's one little bit that we can work on. So maybe it's just double checking the whole forearm has a bit of weight, the hands are nice and firm into the mat. Big inhale, big exhale, great. Last big inhale, and then a big exhale, let the hips release down to the mat. Great. So have some nice big deep breaths. We're going to do the hands just by the chest as you do that. So getting ready to head towards a little baby cobra. And then we'll just draw the feet away from you, keep them nice and heavy into the mat. Press through that pubic bone, look for loads of effort into the hands as you just gently lift the top of the head up. But the bulk of the effort is through the back. So the hands are really there to support, and it feels like that the back does most of the work. The gaze will stay down towards the mat to keep the head and neck in line with the spine. By all means, if it feels a bit more open, you can take the gaze forwards. You might raise the head up a little bit higher. It just depends how open your cobra feels today. Slowly exhale, release the top of the head back onto the mat. We'll gently start to tuck the toes again. We're going to walk these hands forward slightly, so you're heading back into that forearm position. Swing the hips up slightly, so you're in that forearm plank once again. You might stay here, just stay nice and firm, working on that line from heel to hip to shoulder. Got shoulder just above the elbow as well, really rooting down through the hands. If you want a little bit more, then just raise the right foot just off the mat. Great. Keep the hips in line. Big exhale, release that back down. Gently inhale, left foot comes up. Great, we'll exhale, release that back down. Couple of breaths as we gently exhale to release the hips back down. Place the chest, the head back onto the mat. We'll head into that little cobra again. So just bringing the hands by each hand by the chest, and then just gently lifting the top of the head up as we engage through the back. Keep the elbows in, big inhale, and then big exhale to release. Great, we're going to tuck the toes, make our way back up again to all fours. Great. Walk the hands forwards a little bit again. We're going to come to that halfway plank. So it should feel a little bit different with the hands straight. Really rooting down through the hands, just double checking that those knuckles are nice and flat. Great. After a couple of breaths, just keeping the shoulders over the hands, knees bent for a few moments, or in contact with the mat, and then we'll slowly straighten through the knees, head into that plank pose again, engage through the arms, through the core. Big inhale, big exhale. Nice big inhale, and then an exhale. And the last one, big inhale, And exhale. On the next inhale, we're going to swing the hips up and over back behind you. Come into that downward facing dog, so sort of bend the knees as much or as little as needs be. Help bring the hips up nice and high. Might even feel like the downward facing dog is quite a nice break from some of the planks. So gently pedaling through, finding what is comfortable. Nice and slowly pedaling through. Lifting those hips up just a little bit more, really pressing out and away from the hands. And then gently, gently exhaling. We'll take one last breath in. And then a big exhale. Let the knees release back down. Great. And then we're going to come back to a quick child's pose. So it could be knees as wide as the mat again. Take the big toes together. Swing those hips back and just let the arms release for a few moments. Top of the head can come down. You might even bring the hands back behind you if you want to round through the back a little bit more. And then just keeping that breath nice and even. And then once you've had a few breaths to release, we'll start to draw the hands back out in front of you. Firm up slightly through the hands. We're going to swing the hips up gently. Take yourself back to all fours. And then we'll come to another set of planks. So we'll again have that option. Halfway plank might be the one that feels best. So we're still engaging into the core even if we've got the knees on the mat. It's quite an important point of the plank. Otherwise it's not really a plank. So you're looking for that nice engagement, even if it feels a little bit less into the arms with the support of the legs on the mat. If that's all fine, just swing those knees up, keep the hips in line and really pressing out and away from the hands. Elbows are double check, they're just looking in towards each other, breathing nice and evenly. Great, so either keeping it here, you might find that you want to raise that right foot again, so just a few inches off the mat, keeping nice and square with the hands. Weights even into left and right, we're not come crashing into that with the hands. Slowly release that back down, left foot up. Nice even breaths, even weight into the hands. Great, we'll release that nice and slow, and then we're going to take a last breath. And then let the knees release down, come into a little cobra. So bring those elbows back together, take the palms down towards the chest. Gaze stays down towards the mat as we gently raise for a baby cobra to start with. Might feel like it come a little bit higher, maybe with a bit of effort into the hands. Double check that lower back's nice and comfortable. And then gently exhale to release. We'll tuck the toes. Swing those hips up, we're heading straight to a down facing dog this time. Just pedaling through. Let the head be nice and loose, shake a little bit yes and no. Keeping the lift of the hips. Big inhale, big exhale. And then we're going to release the knees back down. We'll turn on over to our backs again. Great. Release through the whole body. So keep those knees up just for a few moments. Up to you. If you want a nice relaxed release, you're going to keep the soles of the feet on the mat and then just gently swing the knees towards the left-hand side. If you want one last little burst of effort through the core, raise those feet up just like we did at the start and then swing them over towards the left-hand side. Keep them hovered or take them to the ground. Entirely up to you which one you want to do. Breathing evenly. And then nice and slow. Through centre, you're going to take that onto the right-hand side. So maybe just with the feet down, just rolling over. You might swing it over with the feet facing, or soles of the feet facing towards the ground, and then hovering just above the ground, or you're letting the knees just gently release towards the ground. Great. We'll draw the knees back up again to centre. You've got the feet up. We'll take soles of the feet down. Have a couple of breaths. See how the whole body feels. Perfect. So we'll slowly release. Just take 1 foot long, followed by the other foot. Breathing a little bit deeper. Feeling nice and heavy through the whole body. And then just focusing on the next few breaths. And then slowly, just starting to notice breath, beginning to make that next breath a little bit deeper. Maybe taking some movement into the hands, the feet. Stretching through the heels, then drawing the hands up above the head, just reaching out as far as you like. Big inhale, big exhale. We're going to draw the knees in towards the chest. Give yourself a nice little hug into the chest. Make sure the lower back's nice and comfortable as we roll to one side. Press into the hands, we're going to come through to a seated position. Look for a little lift of the chest. Heavy through the knees, through the hips. And then bring the hands into the chest and take a nice big deep breath. And big exhale as well. Namaste. Thanks so much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed and hopefully see you again very soon. Bye bye.